Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today. We're letting a couple more people in. We have over about 150 people registered, so it's really a great group. Don't know if everyone will show, or sometimes people like getting the recording at the end if the timing of the webinar doesn't work, which is a good way to do things because we like people being able to relook at the webinar at their leisure, take their time and understand the material better. So, welcome to all of you. And our topic today is from entrepreneur to CEO. And it's actually a series of webinars that we're doing to look at the whole topic of starting as an entrepreneur and becoming a CEO of your business. And today our topic is really achieving business outcomes by optimizing your VA hire. And I'm Elizabeth Eiss, and I'll introduce myself in a moment, as well as Meryl Simmons. But before I do, just a couple of housekeeping items. We will be allowing more people in the room as they join us. And I wanted to basically say this is a joint presentation by Meryl and I. And also with us is Lana Sanderson, who will be manning the chat box. And feel free to put your information about yourself, in the chat box, and also to put questions there because there will be a question and answer period at the end. And Lana will be manning that box and make sure that we answer questions that you have that we don't answer during the webinar. So as I said, there are two hosts today. I'm Elizabeth Eiss, and my business is Results Resourcing. And what I'm all about is really empowering business owners to scale. And that's really one of the prompts for our joint webinar today about the strategic side of empowering your business to the tactical side of empowering your business. So I'm the founder of a company called Results Resourcing. And after decades of running Fortune 500 businesses and also a tech startup, I really became an entrepreneur and angel investor myself. So I've actually seen entrepreneurship from both sides, as an actual person with finances at risk running a business as well as investing in those businesses. And the interesting thing was I spent 2 decades hiring freelancers. And over time, I realized how important freelancers can be to scaling a business. And so I launched Results Resourcing in 2015. And what we do today is we have really provide human help in hiring fractional talent. It's a specialty in itself, hiring. And so we help people to do that. And our business is all about contract staffing, and we are a technology hybrid to make it efficient. So we'll talk more about results resourcing later, but please let me introduce Meryl Simmons.
Hey, good afternoon, good morning, depending on what time zone you are. My name is Meryl Simmons. It's really great to be here. Elizabeth, thank you so much for inviting me to join you today. My background is a little bit different. I spent 20 or so years, actually, I started my career as a clinician. And then for about 15 years or so, I spent as a executive within a medical device manufacturing. Through that time, I worked with hundreds of small business owners, and particularly small medical practice owners. I've gone through periods of rapid growth and scale as an operator and as a manager and leader in my experience, helping a company scale from 70 to 200 million in a three-year period. I really understand what it feels like to have rapid change and rapid growth and scale in a business, and to kind of have that white knuckling that happens. So whether you're a business that's just getting started, or whether you are a mature business who's been around, for decades, I really understand what that rapid growth feels like. And today, the work that I do is that I'm a business execution coach. I help entrepreneurs to be not only accountable in executing, bringing their vision down to the ground, but teaching them and their small teams, depending on where you are in your business, to install a system called EOS. EOS stands for the Entrepreneurial Operating System, and it's used by hundreds of thousands of businesses actually worldwide. So it's a proven operating rhythm. And I'm really excited to be here with you today and to kind of merge the expertise that myself and Elizabeth bring to businesses, to small businesses, and really help you to simplify, to get the most important things done, and to talk about why it's so hard to do it alone, and how these types of services can really support you in your business. So before we kind of jump into a little bit more about the system and work that I do with business owners like you. And first of all, feel free to put in the chat if, what size your business is. Maybe, do you have any employees? Are you an employee, are you a team of one? Are you a team of 10? Are you a team of 20 or more? What does that look like? We'd love to know. But the thing that a lot of people don't actually talk about, on LinkedIn is that small business growth dilemma, right? Like you're kind of caught in that sort of DIY syndrome to start, right? You sort of built the habit of doing everything by yourself because it's the beginning, so you had to, right? But then you become, maybe you hire one or two people, or you're on the, you're thinking about your first few hires and what does that look like? But like, every decision and every fire that happens, so to speak, in your business still goes through you. And so you're really in the weeds at that point of your business. So instead of being the CEO of your company, you're sort of the chief everything officer of your business, and you're very much in the weeds. And it starts to put a cost on your business because priorities shift every week. You're reacting to things instead of leading. Scaling starts to feel impossible because it's just like, when will I ever have the time to work on my business because you're the one doing all the things? And then what is the talent that you need, right? What does your business actually need? What's going to give you the biggest, boost to start moving your business to the next level, moving the needle? And so you're kind of stuck in that kind of that cycle, if you will, because, you're not really in the habit of delegating certain parts of your business because you're not using a system. And so it's a structure problem, you guys. So if you're feeling what I just described, it's not because you're not working hard enough. I've never met a lazy entrepreneur or a lazy business owner. But what I want you to understand, what I want to make a point of today is that in order to rise above the weeds of our business, we have to start setting clear priorities and understanding what are the most important things for us to execute on in order for us to bring our vision down to the ground. And it's really hard to get clear on that. So you need an engine, you need a system, you need rhythm, you need structure before you can start delegating effectively and leading effectively. An engine and a system is really going to allow for you to do it with clarity and to really understand what it is that your business needs you to delegate first. And so what I'd love for you to do is take a moment, a few quiet minutes, and I want you to think about, and feel free, please share it in the chat, if you could work for only 3 hours a day. We call this living your EOS life, right? It means you're doing everything that you want to do. You're building the business you want, and you also have time to spend on other things. And that only happens when you have a system. So if you were able to work 3 hours a day, what would you actually spend your time on? Think about the most important things that only you could do, where your value is the greatest. What would you spend your time on? Think about that. I hope you treat this session as somewhat of a coaching session. I am, after all, a coach. So what are the what are the most important things that you would do if you only had 3 hours a day? Feel free to drop it in the chat. I hope we have some people doing that. I'm not sure if we do. I can't see the chat, but maybe we do.
Maybe Lana can tell us.
I think
You
they're still
startup
thinking about it.
founders, planning and strategizing. I love that. Thank you. Building community partnerships. Okay. Few of you, thank you so much. Yeah, what are the most important things that only you could do in your business? So with that in mind, I want you to think about how we strengthen our business. I'm going to introduce to you what we call the EOS model, the entrepreneurial operating system, the model that EOS is based on, what I teach entrepreneurs to sort of run and operate their business on. And it's based on strengthening 6 key components that every single business needs to be strong in. I don't care what stage you are in your business or what your industry is in, but strengthening these 6 areas of your business is critical, especially for scale. And so I'm just going to go through them briefly, and we're only going to maybe focus on a few of them for today. So if you want to learn more, please get in touch with me. But the first core component of your business is your vision. Where are you going and how are you going to get there? Someone in the chat said, I would spend more time strategizing and planning. I love it. We need to be working more on our business versus in our business. We need to delegate the tasks that don't require our expertise as soon as possible so that we can start working on our business. So your vision, getting clear, where are you going and how are you going to get there? If you don't know where you're going, you can't possibly set the right priorities and goals. You've got to set a destination and work backwards. The second thing is people, right? As we start to maybe add some people to our business, first of all, what does your business need? What are you going to delegate first? First, you got to think about what your business needs. It usually needs sales. It usually needs marketing. It usually needs something to how you deliver your product and service, finance. At the beginning, you're wearing all of those hats. But I want you to think about your business first from a distance. Think about the structure. What does your business need and what can you start to delegate off? What does it look like for your business, those seats, that structure in your business? And then the second part is the people, putting the right people in the right seats. Those are the people who align with your culture and they get it, want it, and have the capacity to do the job of their seat. So before you can assign or delegate, you need to understand what that seat is. Maybe it's a marketing coordinator at this stage in your business. What is the seat for a marketing coordinator in your business? What should they be responsible for doing? Should they be responsible for managing your social media, platforms? Should they be responsible for signing people up for webinars, right? What is it that you need them to do? You've got to get clear about it. And then do they align with your culture? For that, we need to define core values and see what makes sense for your business, right? The third thing is data. We need to have a handful of metrics that we track in our business. These are not lagging indicators, but they're leading indicators. There's things that help us to say, are we on track? So take that social media marketing for a minute. What are the things we're trying to do? We're trying to convert lead forms, maybe, right? Or we're trying to attract subscribers to our email list. If we're not tracking those things on a week-to-week basis, we don't know what's on track or off track. And just trying to grow our pipeline, from the end result to 3 new clients, we don't know what to fix. So we need a handful of data to start tracking our business. The fourth thing is we need to start being able to create space for solving problems in our business. Otherwise, we're just running around like chickens with our head cut off. We're constantly reacting. So we need a list to compartmentalize. How do we document and prioritize issues that are happening in our business? What's off track, right? And then we need a space to solve it. And it's hard to do when it's just you, team of one, right? You feel like you're taking crazy pills, solving problems all by yourself all day long, right? And then process, right? Every business needs to document very simply how they do their thing that they do well, right? Their core processes. And then traction is that cadence of working on your business. So whether it be a weekly meeting or quarterly planning, this is when we start bringing that vision to life, that execution, running week to week so that we're not just in reaction mode. We can't just set a quarterly goal and then forget about it at the end of the 90 days. That's typically what happens. We drift, we're humans, and that's like the typical behavior of human nature. So we need some sort of engine to help us to do that. So those are the key foundations, if you will, on EOS. I could talk more about it, but this is a short webinar, so I won't. And so what I'd like you to think about, if you take away nothing from today, but I know you're going to take away a ton of goodness from both Elizabeth and I, but I want to share with you 3 game-changing foundations, which are from the EOS model. The first thing is that weekly scorecard. Setting a handful of metrics. Are there 3 to 5 metrics that you can think about from your business that you want to start tracking each week? What would help you to determine, is your business on track each week? Is it meetings with customers? Numbers of meetings with customers? What comes before meetings with customers? Is it sending something else out to engage with those potential prospects? So what are 3 to 5 things that you would do each week, and track it to make sure that you're staying on it and how far off that goal you are? The second thing is setting clear priorities. Remember, we talked about where you're going and how are you going to get there, but we've got to break it down into small bites. So if you have an annual goal of bringing on 5 new big clients, or maybe it's other initiatives that you have in your business to work on your business, we then break it down into 90-day goals. Those are 2 to 3 specific, they're SMART goals that help you to stay focused on the most important things. You guys, those 2 things, the numbers and the priorities, everything else in your business is either noise that's just keeping you busy or things you need, tasks you need to start delegating. They need to get done, but they don't require your attention to do it. You need to start working on the other parts of your business in order to scale. And then the third thing to make sure that the numbers and priorities are moving down to the ground is a weekly cadence, a meeting that has a very specific agenda that I'm going to walk you through that will tell you whether you're on track or off track for the most important things in the business. The thing that I help entrepreneurs and teams to do the best is to focus on the most important things so you can actually get the results in bringing your vision to life. So if we move, thank you, Lana. Or Elizabeth. So I want to share with you this meeting. I hope maybe I'll get the opportunity to talk to you more about it in the future, but take notes, take a screenshot. The way that this meeting works is you review your numbers. They're either on track or off track. They're either red or green in your scorecard. You then look at your 2 to 3 priorities that you set for the next 90 days, the big things. So maybe it's onboarding a new team member. Maybe it's doing some new partnership. Maybe it's running and executing some event. What are those 2 to 3 priorities that you need to start chipping away at week after week? You've got to create milestones and get those things done. If you look at them every week, you're going to say, are they on track or are they off track? Again, helping us execute on that vision. The third piece, is there any kind of headlines or updates? Maybe you're working with someone on your team. If you have any employees or contract workers, you want to be able to share, any kind of update. And then number 4 is to make sure that you've gone through any to-dos that you had last week. So maybe there was a to-do list. Stop running your business on a to-do list. That's not goals, right? That's running in reaction mode. But a to-do is something that needs to get done in 7 days. So if your numbers are off track or your priorities are off track, get them back on track. What do we need to do to get it back on track, right? That can be a to-do. And then we spend about an hour in this meeting. This is a 90-minute meeting. We spend an hour in this, what we call in EOS, an L10, a level 10 meeting, actually addressing and solving issues from the root cause, making sure that we're actually doing the things that we need to get done and solving problems that come up. Because, hey, guess what, you guys, every business has opportunities and challenges. That is part of leading and managing a business. And then making sure that we rate the meeting. We want it to be a 10, which means that we actually got behind the problems and we weren't just in reaction mode. So that's sort of your agenda to a successful meeting. And I hope that maybe that might help you start to run and maybe look at your own business differently. So it's a simple weekly rhythm. It's not magic. It's really just consistency. But that's the biggest part. That's the hardest part to do. So I want to share with you just a short case study from a practice owner that I was working with recently in one of my coaching programs. And we use this framework to help our teams. And this person, Dr. Sarah, had one medical location, one practice, and she had 2 staff members, but she was trying to scale. She wanted to bring on a second provider. She was very in the weeds of her business. She did her own marketing. She did her own bookkeeping. She had one office person who helped her with administrative work, with phones, but really everything was completely up to her. She was totally maxed out. She had no clinical slots left. How could she possibly grow and scale? How could she possibly make room to hire, right? And actually, her revenue was dropping. This is what was happening when we first met. So billing was going down, even though she was completely booked. She had not one space in her practice to see more patients. And so the intervention was really simple that we did with her. We started running the L10 meeting. We set 90-day goals. We created a scorecard. She got clear. She prioritized, and she started to actually surface the root causes of the issues that she was experiencing. So now she was tracking her capacity. She actually realized that because she tracked a few simple numbers, that she was spending most of her time with active patients, not new patients. So that was filling up her schedule. She didn't even realize it, right? Same thing too. We actually had radical focus that we were able to execute. She started being able to hire and create some SOPs. That was what her goals were in the first 90 days of setting priorities. And so after a few weeks of being able to do that, she was able to start to delegate and invest her time differently. She was able to move her focus of being in the weeds of everything. And she actually created SOPs, for example, for bookkeeping, what it was that she needed to do for bookkeeping so that she could make that first hire and get her books in order. Because that was something that was completely just bogging her down, in addition to hiring a new provider. The truth is that this L10 system works. This foundation of being able to use those three simple foundations of numbers, goals, and meetings, they work, but it's that consistency that's really, really hard to get, because working on our business is often the first thing that starts to go. When things start to overflow, we scrap it, which is crazy because it's the thing that helps us to actually make sure that our business stays in business, right? So what I've created is a program that will allow you to be able to share this structure. It's called the Get Focused Coaching Program, and it's a virtual structured program. Next slide. A virtual program where we meet every 2 weeks. It's a small peer group. And it allows for that real life application of what I talked about, to be able to get the right things done, start delegating that work off to someone else that can do those tasks, and you can focus those 3 hours, right? What would you spend those 3 hours a day on? Focusing on the right thing, taking the busyness out of business, right? We have to focus on the most important things. It can keep us feeling super busy if we don't get focused. So the Get Focused program follows that L10 structure, and it gives us structure that we need to be able to have accountability and actually work on our business every single week. The program's actually twice a week that we would meet, but it gets you into that rhythm, and you're meeting with myself every other week as well as your peers. So taking that isolation out of it, which I know is also difficult as a solopreneur or as a small business owner. So with that in mind, it's about being able to, again, invest your time in the right places. So what if you're ready to start doing that? What if you're ready to say, yep, I need to make sure, that my bookkeeping is what's going to be the first to delegate, right? So, but it's only until you start to see things clearly of where is my business going? What are the most important things for me to start to hand off? What does success look like in that seat? All of that work needs to be done, and so that you have good clarity and you can confidently and clearly delegate that work to someone else. And it's a process. It's not just something that you hand over and and have the expectations that they know what you need. So you've got to do some of that work ahead of time. But when you're ready to do that, it's amazing. It's going to give you freedom. And so I'm going to pass it back to Elizabeth, who's going to share with you some more about that.
Well, I'm really happy to follow on to Meryl, because she's talked so much about what you would do, what are the most important things you do in a couple of hours of your time. And she kept reinforcing the importance of understanding how you invest your time. And that's really what being the CEO of your business is all about. Time is your most valuable asset. And to me, there's two things that can happen with time. You invest it, and investing it is in the kind of work that generates revenue, delivers value, that creates impact for the audience that you serve. Or you spend your time, and that's on the stuff that runs the business. And that's not the stuff that helps it to grow necessarily. And so I talk a lot about core work versus non-core work. And core work is the work that your client pays you for, and that's investing in your front office. The non-core work that has to be done, every business has a back room, but it's work your client does not directly pay you for. It comes out of the revenue that they pay you plus a profit, for your business. But that's spending money on the back office. And so to me, Meryl talked a lot about delegating the right work, the stuff that shouldn't be worthy of your time. And that's finding staff, or if you're not ready to hire people, you can outsource to skilled AI-enabled pros, as well as to tools and to people. And Meryl also talked a lot about standard operating procedures, which is really important. And sometimes standing operating procedures can be done by tools rather than people. So I'll talk more about that in a minute. But the end of the day, you might want to take just a couple of minutes on a back of a napkin and just like you talked about the things you do if you only had a couple of hours each day, just write down a number that represents the value of your time. What's an hour of your time worth? And then how many hours a week do you work? And if you multiply the two, that's the value of the time you are investing or spending, in your work week. And it's a calculation that I also have automated, and you can press this QR code to test it out yourself. But of all the people that have ever taken this survey over time, these are the statistics. The average hourly rate is $166 an hour. No one ever says $10. And people work 58 hours a week on general. But what's interesting to me is that only 43% of that 58 hours is spent on work that generates revenue. So if you do the math, it's 25 hours times 166. They're investing $4,000 a week in work that generates revenue. So the concerning thing is that 57% of the hours that are worked each week are really spent on non-revenue generating work. So if you begin to do the math, 33 hours times 166, they are spending $5,500 a week on work that doesn't generate revenue, impact, or profit. And so our philosophy is take some of those hours. You don't have to create a miracle. Just take a few hours and start converting it to generate revenue generating work and outsourcing the rest to people that are really good at the non revenue generating work, and they will do it at a lower rate than $166 or whatever your hourly rate is. And that's something for you to decide. But I actually see people taking this survey multiple times just to experiment with different hourly rates and different proportions of time spent on the revenue generating work. So you can really use it as a tool to assess your business. And we do not use it as a marketing tool. I don't know who you are if you're taking this webinar, but I'd encourage you because I think it'll open your eyes. And so when you get going, where does your time create the most value? That goes back to Meryl's question. And it's really on the core work, the stuff that delivers giant value, revenue, profit, those sorts of things. It's building time in for strategy, as well as building a network and community, because you never know where resources are going to come from, or that person to bounce ideas off of, that community that Meryl talked about in terms of having an accountability partner or somebody to help you keep on track. And really, the CEO mindset is all about spending your time on the things or investing your time on the things that matter most and finding an execution plan, both to make sure there's time for strategy, but also to get the other stuff done. And that really involves three things: process, tools, and I include AI as a tool, and people, in that order. And I think it's really important because you can outsource to process, you can outsource to tools because processes are repeatable, so you don't do things in wasteful ways in multiple ways. You have a consistent way of doing it. Tools can help you execute those things and automate. And only when you have exhausted, ideally, your process and tools outsourcing, then you delegate to people, because people want to do interesting work and they don't want to do mundane, repetitive work. So you really can leverage the mind share of people when you follow that model. And so here's just another quick look at of process, which are the core repeatable processes, to tools, which is automating things, leveraging data and world knowledge, using optimization of AI and other tools, and people. These are the things that people are great at. And there's a lot of talk about AI slop, and people really can bring in accountability, expertise, reflect your brand voice. They're authentic, creative, and critical thinking. They'll challenge you. Those are all things that you want in your business. So let's talk for a minute about what virtual assistant looks like today, because it's not a cog. There's a lot of different forms of virtual assistants. And if you think about in the original days, at the lower end of the spectrum were tasks that people did. And on the higher end of the spectrum were outcomes-oriented work that also humans did. And they're human, and there's an HVA there for human virtual assistants, because before there were automated tools and AI, humans did all of this stuff. And the key was segmenting out the tasks to the things that were more outcomes-oriented work. But today we do have digital VAs and artificial intelligence. And in fact, if you Google, tell me what a VA should do, it's going to tell you about digital or AI generated VAs first. But, more and more, the digital and AI stuff is taking over the lower end of the spectrum, but the human premium is really at the upper end where the outcomes are. But that I guess foundation or that barrier is moving from frontier, from left to right, where digital and AI tools are more and more capable of things that humans can do. But at the end of the day, I think really the secret is a combination. Virtual assistant is a professional support service, whether you get it from tools or humans, but preferably a combination, because really the human is the human premium. The tools can do so much in terms of accessing the world database, but then you need to do fact checking. The outcomes need to be reasonable. Thinking about how do you optimize AI with the correct prompts to get the right outputs. And then I think there's something to that accountability that Meryl was talking about. You don't get that from AI, you get that from other human beings. And you make sure that whatever you're producing, whether it's yours, AI, or a combination of the two, that it accurately reflects your brand voice. But I think this is the reality today. There's always going to be a combination, and it's finding the right balance for you. So I really encourage you to think about harnessing the power of virtual assistants in the broadest sense of the word, because it really will help you optimize your time and your capital. And what's great about VAs, virtual assistants, is their flexible skill and their availability. So having VAs helps you offload non-core work. It's flexible in that you're not making an employment commitment to 40 hours a week. You can scale up and down, depending on your needs. You can also add very results-oriented talent. One of the things I find about virtual assistants is many are entrepreneurs also. So they're really focused on the end result, not in clocking time. And it also helps you add broad thinking and experience. While you may be laser focused on your particular area of expertise, bringing in virtual assistants that work in other industries can bring ideas to you and will help you not reinvent the wheel when something's already done in another industry. You can really borrow ideas. So that's a really great addition there. And then really a lot of virtual assistants today, human virtual assistants today, are really skilled in AI and tech utilization. They can help you choose the right CRM system. They can help you optimize it. So instead of just using it as an advanced Rolodex, you can help build email campaigns or marketing campaigns, build newsletters that can go out to different categories of people. There's so much you can do with tools if you know how to optimize them rather than just get them set up. And then the last thing is that, if you've been a business of one or a business of a few, you haven't probably spent a lot of time developing the skill of delegation. And it is a skill. It's not something that's innately there. You've got to trust who you're delegating to, and you have to learn how to delegate in a responsible way that you're managing the results without having to do it yourself. And really, virtual assistants work with people like you, if you're one of these entrepreneurs of one, to learn how to delegate and outsource. And the foundation of that is of course, trust. So for us, results resourcing helps with human plus technology to help you get matched to great freelancers that can help you. We really are the best of both worlds. We're a technology platform because we want it to be efficient. That's our back office. So we can spend time on our front office, which is helping solopreneurs and small employers hire great freelancers. So it is an automated proprietary technology platform that I designed and built based on my own experience of hiring freelancers for myself. As I said in the beginning, I've been hiring freelancers for 20 years. And I have a lot of experience and made a lot of mistakes, but I also know what can make it really work. And so we also put a premium on the human premium. We do start all of our engagements talking with you to help you really figure out what it is you need by going through some of the processes that Meryl talked about to understand what's going to help you make the most of the talent you could hire to optimize your business and get the results you need. So you talk to a human, you access skilled, scalable talent that we've pre-vetted, and it's cost effective and quick. So in brief, this is what we do. We help you find US and Canadian-based talent who are skilled in the practices and the culture of the United States and Canada. They are also very AI skilled. We really match you with teams, not individuals. I mean, there are individuals on teams you work with, but what teams give you is breadth and depth. The bookkeeper that Meryl mentioned is also not going to be your expert in SEO or perhaps CRM optimization. So it's good to have a team that already works together so work can be shared with the correct expert, but we always have a point of contact that is your key customer success person that's coordinating all the resources on your behalf. We also charge no minimums. Many services out there, will require a certain number of hours per month or per week. We don't do that, and some of that is because of our automation. But I also don't think it's personally, I've always objected to it because I want to make virtual assistants accessible, something that you can start to use without worrying about, oh, it's going to cost me X dollars a month. I want you to just get started, learn how to delegate, learn the benefits it can be to your business, and that will help you delegate more and outsource more of that non-revenue generating work that freelance assistance is perfect for. And we can also get you up and running in 24 to 48 hours. These are popular roles. As I said in the beginning, VAs are not commodities. We offer a range from virtual assistant on up to online business managers. So it's a lot of different functional expertise at different levels. And part of our discussion is really fitting you at the right level of virtual resources that you might need. And we guarantee satisfaction. We're called results resourcing because we want to resource your results. So going back to Dr. Sarah, to recap, she had time and budget constraints, her priorities were untouched, and she had this mysterious revenue drop. And ultimately, at the end of the day, Dr. Sarah was able to outsource a lot of key roles to a hybrid VA AI team, which helped her expand her business. So she was helped with SOPs and systemized operations. In fact, virtual assistants are very good at helping you document what a standard operating procedure is and tailoring it to your business. Also helped with admin, scheduling, client support, really building lead generation systems, invoicing and bookkeeping. Whoops, it's not. There we go. Marketing, editorial account, all these things are different things that different virtual assistants are expert in to really help you get more out of the talent the team that you can hire. And at the end of the day, it's back up to staff. It's not that you have to have a backup person on staff all the time, but if somebody's out all of a sudden, you've got a team that already knows your business that can be there to step in the breach. Meryl.
Yeah, I mean, I think as I'm listening to you, Elizabeth, there's so much of the work that we both provide that really collides, right, in helping small business owners to sort of overcome oh, I've never delegated before. A lot of the work that I wind up doing with some of my more solopreneur style or less than 5 people kind of business owners, they've never led people before, they've never led a team before. And it's that practice that you talked about, right, of that delegating. And a lot of the coaching that I wind up doing with clients is helping them to lead and manage better. It's like, hey, you've got to give up the toy, right? I call it the toy, right? That you're letting go of. You've got to trust. But in order to do that, you've got to be clear on what that task really is. You got to be clear on what the outcome is. So it's the combined effort, right, between your service and the coaching opportunity and the systems of knowing what it is that your business needs that really all gels in helping that business owner to scale. It all fits together from helping someone become a better leader, developing their leadership skills, to helping them to get clear of what's working and what's not working in their business with these foundations and systems, but also identifying, issues. And then, hey, what's next, right? Like maybe they start with a bookkeeper, but maybe they realize that things around their campaigns are just bogging them down, right? So it's an opportunity to uncover that and find another opportunity to hire a VA for that solution. So there's just so much goodness in this kind of combined work and service together to really support a small business owner or help that solopreneur sort of jump from that DIY to really the CEO and start investing their time in their core business. So, really focusing on that high value work, making sure that they can, increase their revenue and less effort on their part and have a business that's actually scalable. So the solution is really combined, right? In being able to offer a solopreneur who doesn't really know what's next, or a small business owner who's stuck in the weeds, the best of both worlds for that scaling solution. So I love that. I love that piece that you talked about, or the various pieces that you spoke about, because it's just so relevant to what business owners go through on a regular basis. So, I'd love to talk to anyone who's on the call today who has more questions. I know Elizabeth as well, is available to schedule a session and get you all started and really bringing your vision to life and really executing on that vision and getting everything you want from your business.
I totally agree. Meryl and I collaborate, and not only on this session, but how we look at business is really combined, because Meryl is helping, starting with the strategy and setting the foundations in place. And when good foundations in place, that is a perfect place to start the outsourcing journey, so you can spend your time or not spending your time on the stuff that is the back office work, and really focus on the front office work. So these are QR codes that will help you have a jumpstart session with me. They're free. We love to kind of talk to you and help you on your journey. And if you're ready, we're glad to help you. If not, you walk away with more skills. And I think Meryl is the same way. And we'd also
Absolutely.
like to open the floor to questions. We've spent the first 40 minutes or so just kind of sharing our experiences in this world. And now if you've got questions, we'd love to take them. Lena, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Amazing. Thank you so much. This was really great. Thank you for everyone who submitted questions to me directly. This question is for Meryl. Can you share a framework apart from EOS or overview on the business decision versus impact?
A business decision versus impact. I'm not sure I understand. I'm not sure I understand the question.
Maybe they can provide more insights in the chat while we're waiting. Do you want to take another question while we wait if there's any more?
Sorry,
Okay.
I think I'd like to understand better. I'm not sure what the question is.
Okay. No worries. Okay. This one is also for you. What should a business owner do when their 90-day priorities keep getting pushed aside by urgent client work?
Great question. Well, again, we say that's where the piece of accountability needs to happen, and they're disciplines. The work that I do with leaders and with entrepreneurs, it's not rocket science, but it's a discipline and it's a muscle that needs to be built, and it needs to grow, and it needs a coach, and it needs accountability, because working on your business is the first thing to go. So we need to stay with it. Otherwise we drift. So it's got to be the most important thing. The thing I would say that happens a lot, though, is that we often bite off a little bit more than we can chew. So part of the discipline of setting 90-day goals is, first of all, less is more. Things always take longer than we think they'll take. So setting milestones in those 90-day goals is really important. So maybe it was too big. So could you take a slice of that and pare it down? I often ask people, like, what do you want done to look like at the end of the 90 days? And if it's something that's really meant for a year or 6 months, or maybe you don't even have the resources to do it, right? Maybe you need to outsource some parts of that project. Again, that's where you would tie in resourcing to say, oh, this person could help me with this part of the project potentially, right? So a VA might come in handy for something like that as well. So I would say, number one, it's a discipline. Don't let it slide. So it's like, if you count your steps because walking every day is important to you, you got to walk every day. Same thing with working on your business. It's not complicated, or it's simple, but it's not always easy. So if you need a coach and you need accountability, I'd be happy to help you. The second thing is simplify. It was the goal too long or too much? And then the third thing is think about where you might be able to delegate so that you can meet your deadline. That would be my long-winded answer.
Mhm. Fantastic. Thank you. All right. What outcome
That's a
should
good
I
question.
assign a VA, not just a list of tasks, so they can take a meaningful ownership? How can I set expectations?
Do you
I
want to
think
take that one, Elizabeth?
I'll take, yeah, I'd love
Yeah.
to.
Mhm.
And I would actually phrase it differently. I think you have a conversation. I mean, first of all, you need to have a VA that you trust and you have confidence in that has the skills that are necessary for your business and the kind of work you want them to do. But assuming that that's in place, then I think it's a conversation rather than an assignment. Because if you have a conversation about what you want to accomplish, then you're already setting the tone of the work to be done at the right place. Because
Right.
not everything is cut and dried. You know, anybody that's involved in execution, you're going to hit roadblocks or unexpected things. And so I think that helps decision making if you kind of you have a joint understanding of what the outcome is. And so I think it's a back and forth between here's what I want to accomplish. Let's talk about what are the steps or the tools or the processes that are necessary to do that, and what do you feel comfortable? What do you feel comfortable owning? What do you need from me? So it's kind of a dialogue, but I think at the end of the day, you end up with a clear list of the work, the specific tasks that are going to be done, and the outcomes that are expected from those tasks. And then if the outcomes aren't lining up with the work as planned, then you need to make an adjustment. It's not always because somebody didn't do something right. It might be there was something unexpected or you didn't anticipate something. So I think it's more of a conversation, and that kind of gets back to just building your skills in delegation. Because
Yeah.
sometimes when you just hand something off and say, own this, without giving somebody the context and or actually the
The
human
expectations.
caring,
Yeah.
can backfire. So I
Yeah.
that's the way I would answer that question.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Elizabeth. And, I think what is so hard for entrepreneurs who've never led before and they've been so used to kind of doing it on their own is they don't know how to get clear about it, or they're moving so fast that they're not taking the time to get
Mhm.
clear on
True.
those things. And so everything that you said is, I couldn't agree with more. And it's being able to articulate that. So you've got to give it some thought. It is a conversation, and you've got to give it some thought. You've got to know where you want to go. But to Elizabeth's point, the way that you execute it may wind up not being the right path, right? So you have to course correct. And again, that's where the partnering of like being able to delegate the work, but also having a strong system underneath that allows you to say, is this off track? Is it on track? So that you are not course correcting at the end, right? Where it's like, oh gosh, this has been 6 months and we're still not where we need to be. But you're every week saying, hey, let's tweak here. What can we change here to get this back on track? So it's a conversation with data, right? So it's all of those ingredients are so, so critical.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
Okay, the first question actually came back with a little
Oh,
bit more
great.
context, but
Thank
I'm
you.
gonna I'm gonna give this person a chance to actually speak up and ask the question if that's okay.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Lana, for the
Mhm.
opportunity. My question is to Meryl, is about what framework or strategy should be used to balance high leverage operational decisions against the business of performance. As if take an
Yeah.
example of B2B SaaS business, which is itself a niche service product for B2B. So how you see the scaling of the revenue retention strategy in this whole process?
Yeah. So I think the thing that I'm going to bring you back to, the one foundational tool that's so critical, is data. What are the steps or the activities or behaviors that get you to that end result of more client acquisition? So being able to track a handful of those metrics week over week will tell you what's working and what's not working in the business, from like an execution standpoint. And that should help guide you around decisions as well. They should help you to make decisions of what's working and what's not working in your approach. That's sort of bringing strategy down to the ground, if you will. Obviously, you can map out strategy all day long, but if you don't have a method and an approach to execution, something simple, it's just a vision, right? Without that traction piece. So the tools around a weekly, pulse check, the tools around a weekly scorecard with a handful of leading indicator activity-based metrics are going to help you to predict how to actually execute that vision. EOS is a whole toolbox of tools, and some of it is around vision planning, but a lot of it is around the execution. And as they say in the book Traction, vision without traction is hallucination, right? You can build vision all day long, but if you don't have a system to execute it, it really doesn't matter, right? You're going to be kind of spinning your wheels. I hope that answered your question. Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank
Thank you
you.
for your question.
Okay. There's a bit of a story to this question. So Daniel's a nursing student transitioning into tech. Not going to get into all the details, but currently developing skills in data analysis, cybersecurity, and all of that good stuff. What would you recommend I do differently at my current stage to develop the mindset, skills network, execution, ability, need to eventually become a successful CEO?
I would personally start with where are you going and how are you going to get there? Feel free to visit my website or set up a call. There's a downloadable tool on there that is called a VTO, a Vision Traction Organizer. You can start by filling something like that out. It's 8 simple questions. But then again, I'll say the same answer that I said before. It's simple tools that allow for that execution, like a meeting, like rocks to work backwards, your priorities, figure out what's working. You don't always know. That's part of the tricky part in building a business from nothing, is you don't always know what's going to work. So that's where those handful of activities help to be able to determine, is this working or is this not working, or where's my business making traction? The work that I do is typically for businesses who already have a proven a product market fit, and sort of a proven rhythm in their business to execute. I don't know, Elizabeth, do you have other suggestions for that question?
Yeah, that made me think of, kind of my entrepreneurial journey, really, in the sense that 20 years ago, I did not envision being in the business of results resourcing, but I kind of kept following my nose, if you will, things that interested me, and meeting with other groups, or in researching this or taking courses, things like that, that just kept helping me get clearer on what it was that interested me, so I could eventually I really was consulting for a long period of time before I realized, I mean, what happened for me is I was consulting and I would bring freelancers. This was 15 years ago, before freelancers were a thing. I mean, I would have to explain what a contractor was. But I had them on my project teams, and my clients started to ask me to find them freelancers. That's how my business started. No, I mean, it just was circumstantial. And, one thing led to another, and it's evolved into a business I greatly enjoy today, because I can really help a lot of people, and it's very fulfilling for me. And hopefully I help them be more successful because they've been matched with vetted virtual assistant teams that can help them do more. And so I would encourage the same sort of thing. Be curious.
Yeah.
Let your journey take you the direction it does. Talk to people,
Talk to
join
people.
groups,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and don't be afraid to try things.
Yeah. Talk to end users, talk to
Yeah.
customers, and things. So, go on that kind of interview, curious journey, if you will. I totally
Yeah.
agree. Thanks for your question, Daniel.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Okay, let me see. Mhm. Where is the line between work AI and the work that still needs to be done with human judgment, voice, and accountability?
Mm. I have some thoughts, but you want to take that, Elizabeth?
Yeah, I'll start. Um, I think it's a blurry line. And I think a lot of it really starts with your skill,
Yeah.
honestly, in using AI. Because I think people that use AI blindly without challenging it or not being careful with the prompts that they use, get information back that may require a whole lot of human judgment, versus a well-thought question will give you results that you can then use and take to the next level. So I think that it's a human determination. In fact, I was on a call with some people earlier today, and they talked about how they take their output from ChatGPT and put it in Claude and ask Claude, "What do you think of this? This work, and what are the holes?" So you can use AI to challenge other AIs, to help you figure out where that line is too. But if there's any doubt, there's a lot of impatience with what they call AI slop today. And if there's any suspicion that you might be on the side of AI slop, then I would definitely emphasize the human premium.
Yeah, totally. I agree with what you've shared. And I'll also add that oftentimes what I'll share with people to do is I'll say, well, and if you haven't built it yet, there's no time but the present. If you have some basic processes, let's just say in your business, like some simple core processes, either how you build your pipeline or how you execute a service. If it's a complete tech service, that's also different. Obviously, there's a lot of developer skills in something like Claude, which is a totally different level, which I'm not an expert in, so I won't speak to that. But if you can look at certain sort of simple processes in your core processes, and you can say, what are the things that can be automated, or what are the things that like I can move a little faster with? That's like a great place to plug AI in, but you still need the human to proofread that work. You still need the human to make sure that AI is not hallucinating. I mean, those things are still real. So it can help you to move fast, to do more faster, but there's still a human element that's going to be necessary. Based on the thing that you're trying to do. So it's like, I think you can just do more faster, but you still need that human to kind of either check the work or give the appropriate prompts or, whatever it is, right?
Mm.
I have a very small team. What does a realistic weekly accountability meeting look like?
Oh yeah, great question. So realistically, the core of that meeting is to make sure that you've got scorecard in place, so a handful of metrics, and definitely go to my website. I have I'd love to talk to you. So first and foremost, if you want to set up some time, let's chat. But I've got lots of blog posts on this very topic. And first and foremost, it's setting up a handful, 2 to 3 things, numbers that you can start tracking. Build on it over time, but start with 2 or 3 things. So what are 2 or 3 things that you want to start tracking every week? What is one key priority that you want everyone to focus on over the next 90 days? And I'm like really simplifying this because again, it's a muscle that you start to build. And then from there, so each week you go through the scorecard. Are we either on track or off track? So you either give a thumbs up or a thumbs down. It's either red or green. If it's red, you drop it down to what we call an issues list, and then you try to solve it together. So if something's off track with lead generation, spend that time making sure you're solving it to get lead generation back on track. That's one of the most important things of your business. Same thing, if you're integrating a new CRM system, maybe that's an initiative that everyone's working on. So are we on track with that, or are we off track? Did you delegate milestones for that integration, whatever it is? So it's looking at the most important things of your business in your business together. They're either they're numbers and goals, and then troubleshooting, problem solving, actually taking dedicated time, 1 hour together to go through what are the problems in your business. Is a customer off track? So it's giving them the space so that things don't feel like a fire. And you can also make sure too that you are staying focused on the most important things, not busy work or noise. So I hope that helps. There's, if you do the playback, I think I gave the agenda for the L10. You can visit my site. There's an agenda for the L10 meeting. You can get in touch with me. I'm happy to share it with you. Or let's try and do some work together. I'd love to help you. Just start those meetings. Get it started.
Thank you.
Great
We have a
question.
hand up. We have a hand up, so go ahead.
Yes, my name is Easter. I just posted a questions asking regarding would you like to talk about the financial issues as a startup entrepreneur?
What type of financial issues
Yeah,
are you asking about?
yeah, as a startup in any business, finance is one of the key to move the business forward and to make the daily activities of the business go. So how can we manage or generate the finances as a startup?
I don't know if Elizabeth or I are experts in those areas, so I'm not sure as far as raising capitals or lending.
Yeah.
Those are not our focus, but Elizabeth, I don't want to speak for you.
Well, I guess it comes up a lot, with new entrepreneurs that, come to us, for help, but we don't really provide any help with financing. And I don't know, where exactly you live, but, a lot of cities will offer local courses with helping set up, the books properly, helping connect you with networks of people that might be able to help you finance something. So there may be some local resources that you can go to that will help you kind of, understand your business and help you set up the appropriate financial books so you can manage that, because that's a critical element of managing your
Yeah.
business. And then if it involves raising capital, yeah, they can help connect you with potential resources for that, whether it's grants or any number of things in addition to angel capital and that sort of thing. So that would be my recommendation. And that's coming to you more because of my background, when I was an angel investor, which I'm not anymore, but that would be some of the things that I would suggest to help get your business kickstarted.
That's good advice, Elizabeth.
Okay, thank you. I
You're
just
welcome.
yes, I still have another. Um, I appreciate this meeting, and I'm I'm trying to start up a business, but this company I don't want it's not going to be in the United States, but rather going to be in Africa, Liberia, West Africa. So I'm still on the planning process of the business. So how can I get you guys advice or assistance?
I
As,
don't think, yeah, Easter, I don't think we're probably the best place for you,
yeah,
because I don't have any expertise in in
Setting up.
your country or really in getting financial advice. So I would encourage you to, look to local resources or potentially explore whether it's the State Department or the UN or
mm,
there's a lot of international organizations that are interested in entrepreneurship. I don't personally know them, but I
um,
know that they exist and they would at least be able to help you kind of chart a course. Um, so I think that's the best advice we can really give you.
okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us today and good luck to you.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
We're over by about 6 minutes, so I apologize for that. Lots of
Oh,
questions today.
okay, well, no,
Yeah.
perfect. Well, we've spent a great hour with everyone, and I really appreciate everyone the great questions and everyone joining us today. And as I mentioned before, for anyone that registered and anyone that attended, you will get a copy of the recording, and we look forward to sharing it with you. And both Meryl and I would love to speak with you. So we've kept the QR codes up, so look forward to talk to you personally. And if we can answer the questions, look forward to doing that. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.